very much. Hola, Chile. So good to be here. What I want to talk to you today about is how to create a culture of nonstop innovation for your organization or company. As we all know, I think as all the world knows now, we lost a great innovator in Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, a couple of months ago. But what you don't know is that he almost died 5 years earlier. Let me tell you what happened. I used to live in the same city, same town as Steve Jobs. He lived about 1 block down and 2 blocks over. And it's a beautiful town, Palo Alto. It's full of trees and interesting houses, and because of all the trees and interesting houses, people don't always drive as carefully as they should, and they're always looking around. And so whenever I went to work or drove my car, I would be very careful to watch out for stop signs and other cars and so forth. And I'm driving to work, and I'm driving down the street, and I see a figure of a person walking along the other street who might, if he's not paying attention, step off the curb in front of me. And sure enough, he wasn't paying attention. I could tell because he had the little white wires coming out of his ears. He was listening to an iPod. And he steps off the curb in front of me. I'm ready, though, and I slam on the brakes, screech to a halt about that far away, and he turns around, and it's Steve Jobs. And he's, okay, and he keeps walking. And I'm sitting in the car thinking, whoa, that was close. That was close. And my hands started to shake on the steering wheel as I realized I almost killed Steve Jobs. I almost killed innovation in the world. We would not have had the iPad or any of the competing products to the iPad and whatever else is in the pipeline. That would have been it. Okay? So I don't want to let those lessons die with Steve Jobs. So let's talk about some of that. The designful company. Okay. So I'm reading my, about 5 years ago, I'm sitting at home having breakfast and reading the Wall Street Journal, and this is the top story of the day. U.S. economy loses steam. Oh, God, But the second story, right under that story, was this one. Apple's profit surges 6-fold. What is going on? The rest of the world is tanking, and Apple is hugely successful. So the Wall Street Journal, of course, had to interview Steve Jobs to find out what is going on here. And they said, Steve, this is great. How do you expect to keep this up? And he said it in 5 words. We intend to keep innovating. That was it. We intend to keep innovating. And you can imagine CEOs all over the world wondering what he meant by that. What does that mean? Is that a strategy? Keep innovating. We innovate, don't we? Don't we innovate? I don't know. Well, no, not like Apple. Apple has a culture of innovation. And the secret of innovation is this. If you want to innovate, you've got to design. Design is the secret sauce of innovation. And a lot of companies don't want to face that because they don't understand what design is. So I'm going to tell you what design is, and from now on you'll know, and you'll be able to use it in your company to create a culture that keeps innovating all the time. All right, so what is design, and who is a designer? All right, well, the dictionary says this. It says a designer is a person who creates an artifact or a lot of artifacts. What is that? An artifact? Anybody out here make a living doing artifacts? You sell artifacts? No. You can't make a business out of artifacts. Not really. That's not very helpful. So I prefer this definition. from Herbert Simon. Herbert Simon was a Nobel laureate from the 60s who pioneered things like artificial intelligence. And he had a lot of interesting things to say about design. His definition is this: a designer is anyone who devises ways to change existing situations into preferred ones. Okay? So note the special selection of the words anyone and change and situations, right? So using this definition, anybody could be a designer, right? Even the CEO. In fact, I would argue if the CEO is not a designer, the CEO should be removed, because a designer is changing from anything from an existing situation to a preferred one, and that's what a CEO should be doing every day. It also means all of you are designers. Congratulations. So where do designers work? Well, they work in this place between vision and reality, and that there's a gap in between. So reality is what is, right? Business is obsessed with what is. But if you want to be an innovator, you have to be obsessed with what could be, and that's vision, right? And so this space in between, I call this the dragon gap. Because in the old days of navigation, the map makers would they draw the maps and the continents and the oceans and so forth. And they'd draw in little sea serpents wherever, nobody knew what was going on there. Or where, if bad stories came back from that place, they'd draw a little sea serpent with a little legend that said, "There be dragons." Well, there be dragons in business too. And it's right here between vision and reality. Everywhere, dragons. So what happens is, because of these dragons, people who make decisions in traditional businesses tend to take the decisions off the rack as if they're choosing clothes in a store. Rather than go to a tailor, they would just look at what's there and just make the best decision. So, might try something on and, no, I don't think so. No, that won't work. Definitely not. No good. Yeah, I think that's okay. What do you think? Looks pretty good on me, right? Never mind that the clothes are 50 years out of date and my leg is sticking out the back. It's close enough, right? So that is the traditional way of making a decision. You choose from existing options, all right? So it's the difference between deciding the way forward and designing the way forward. You need to design the way forward if you want to be innovative. All right? So the problem with business today is that managers do the first damn thing that pops into their heads. This is from a famous professor at a business school. He also said there's a whole level of reflectiveness, in other words, thinking, that's absent in traditional management that we can find in design. So business is discovering design, finally. All right, so really what's different about this new way of thinking? It's called design thinking. So I'll explain this for you, and then at the end you will know forever what this is about. It'll be ingrained in your mind forever. It's actually very simple, okay? So in traditional business decision-making, there's two steps. The first step is knowing something, right? I know it because I had a case study at the university, or I know it because I read it in Que Pasa magazine. I know it because in my last company we tried it and it didn't work, or it did work, whatever. It's something that I feel I know. Then I move directly from knowing to doing, right? So basically two steps. You know something and you do something. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, design thinking is different. It adds a step in the middle, right? And the step is making. And making is about imagining options that weren't on the table before and then prototyping them so that everyone can see them and respond to them. So new step in the middle. And what that does is it pushes back both ways so that it changes what you know, because now you know something you didn't know, and it also changes what you do. So that kind of thinking is really the kind of thinking that created these amazing monuments that we have in the world, like the Eiffel Tower. That was a result of design thinking. Another one like that is the wheel in London, the London Eye. It would take about 27,000 jumbo jets full of people to equal the number of people that go on this exhibit every year. A huge number of people come to England to see this. And then there's the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, which not only is a beautiful piece of architecture, but it catalyzed an economic turnaround for the whole region. If you go there, the whole city is almost transformed just by one act of innovation. Now, probably none of you are going to be doing these kinds of projects, but let's bring it down a bit to something you might work on. Let's say that you're a furniture manufacturer, and you're trying to reinvent the chair. All the chairs out there look like this, all the office chairs, and you're thinking, well, what can we do? I mean, this is the way they look. Well, if you use design thinking, you might come up with something like that, right? This is the Aeron Chair, designed by Herman Miller in about 10 years or so, 15 years ago. Using design thinking, they reinvented the chair. And you would think this would not be a big deal because they have about, I don't know, 2,000 products that they sell. What's one more product? But this chair, because it was so innovative, actually accounted for 30% of their revenues at one point. 30%, one chair. So one little innovation can make a huge difference for a company, right? So what else can you apply design to? This is starting to get interesting. Design is very powerful. So, well, of course, you can apply it down at the bottom of this ladder to external conversations. So external conversations would be advertising, identity, I don't know, social marketing, those kinds of things. Certainly you can design that. But moving up the ladder, excuse me, let's go back. Moving up the ladder, products and services, right? We know we can design products, the chair was a product, but you can also design services, right? It shouldn't be just an accident, you should design that. Oops, sorry, did it again. I'm clicker happy, aren't I? Customer experiences. If customer experiences are what drive brands and create brands, then you should be designing the experiences. You should figure out what the customer journey is and make that a very nice journey. I mean, that's a design project. Brand ecosystems. When you build a brand, there are a lot of people involved. You've got customers, you've got other stakeholders, you've got employees. Everyone gives something, everybody gets something. Those relationships can be designed. And then moving up the ladder, operational processes. Internal communications, strategic decisions, decision-making itself can be designed. You can design a process for it. Organizational structure, your business model should be designed, and even thought leadership for the company. The vision of the company can be a design project. So these are the kinds of things that can be designed. So it's not just at the lower levels of the ladder with advertising and products, all the way up, design, design, design. And that's how you make big change, all right? So the key for this really is to make a place for design and not just keep it down, you know, over there in the back room, that guy in the back room that does design. No, it should be part of the thinking of the whole leadership team. Design should be there from day one. It's an existential issue. All right, so let's not let Steve Jobs' message and lesson go unheeded. Let's carry the torch. Let's intend to keep innovating from now on. And remember, when you do that, when you innovate, you got to design. That's it. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.